Let's get right into it. Number 10. A Spoonful of Misery. It's 1898, and your kid won't stop coughing. You head to the local pharmacy and grab a bottle of Bayer's newest miracle medicine. The bottle proudly displays the Bayer Company logo, and right below it, in fancy letters, it says heroin. Yes, you heard that right. Heroin cough syrup. Bayer marketed this stuff as a non-addictive alternative to morphine, and it was specifically marketed for children. The name heroin came from the German word heroisch, meaning heroic, because that's how powerful they thought this medicine was. This stuff was sitting in family medicine cabinets right next to the bandages and aspirin. Parents would give their kids a spoonful whenever they had a cough, completely unaware they were basically serving up addiction for breakfast. Doctors eventually noticed something weird. Their patients kept coming back for refills, a lot of refills. Turns out, their non-addictive wonder drug was about as non-addictive as free pizza. The product was eventually banned, but not before creating what we might call a slight public health crisis. Number 9. Lawn darts. Imagine giving your kid a javelin and saying, "Have fun in the backyard." That's basically what parents in the 1970s were doing with lawn darts. These weren't your regular pub darts. They were foot-long metal spears with plastic fins that you toss at targets on your lawn. The game was simple. Throw the dart up in the air and hope it lands in the target. But these backyard missiles weighed enough and had sharp enough tips to pierce a human skull like it was a melon. And they did. Multiple times. At least 3 children lost their lives to these toys. Even after people started getting hurt, manufacturers just slapped on a warning label saying, "Not a toy for children," and kept selling them. Because apparently, metal spears flying through the air were totally fine, as long as adults were throwing them. Finally, in 1988, the government stepped in and banned them completely. But some of these death darts are still lurking in garages and basements across America. So if you're cleaning out Grandpa's garage and find what looks like a giant dart, maybe don't organize a family game night around it. Number 8. The Killer Wallpaper. Can you imagine decorating your house with wallpaper that could literally kill you? That's exactly what people in Victorian times were doing with something called Scheele's green. This gorgeous green color was made with copper arsenic. You know, the same stuff they use in rat poison. When the wallpaper got damp or warm, it would release tiny particles of arsenic gas into the air. People would sit in their living rooms, breathing in poison day after day, wondering why their whole family kept getting sick. They'd get nausea, stomach pains, and slowly get worse over time. And the more expensive and high-class your home was, the more likely you were to die, because fancy homes had more of this deadly wallpaper. One doctor got so fed up that he made a book called Shadows from the Walls of Death. It was literally full of samples of poisonous wallpaper to warn people. The book itself was so toxic it could kill you just by reading it. Even when people started figuring it out, some designers refused to believe it. They were like, this beautiful green color couldn't possibly be deadly. Meanwhile, their customers were dropping like flies. Number 7. The Exploding Orbs. Imagine giving your kid a toy that's basically 2 plastic grenades on a string. That's exactly what parents did in the 1960s with clackers. These things were actually inspired by an ancient hunting weapon called the boleadora, because apparently someone thought, hey, you know what would make a great children's toy? That thing gauchos used to break animal legs. The toy was simple. 2 hard acrylic balls attached to a string that you'd swing up and down. But when these acrylic balls hit each other too hard, they didn't just break. They exploded like tiny plastic grenades, sending sharp shards flying everywhere. Kids were basically playing with miniature bombs on strings. And where did most of these shards end up? Right in kids' eyes. The Society for the Prevention of Blindness had to step in and say, hey, maybe giving kids exploding plastic balls isn't the best idea. But by then, millions of these mini weapons had already been sold worldwide. The government finally stepped in and banned them. Number 6. Sweet poison. Would you paint your kid's room with candy? Because that's basically what people were doing for decades with lead paint. This stuff was everywhere. Walls, furniture, even baby cribs. But here's the really messed up part. It tasted sweet. Actually sweet enough that kids would eat it. The paint chips had this sugary taste that made toddlers think they'd found a secret candy stash peeling off the walls. The paint companies knew about this for decades but kept selling it anyway. Meanwhile, kids were literally eating poison off their bedroom walls. And this wasn't just a, you'll get a tummy ache kind of poison. Lead builds up in your body over time, like a toxic savings account you never wanted. It messes with your brain development, causing learning problems and behavioral issues. By the time parents noticed something was wrong, the damage was already done. It took until the 1970s for someone to finally say, maybe we shouldn't let people paint their houses with poison that tastes like candy, but that paint is still around. If you live in a house built before 1978, there's a good chance you've got layers of sweet poison hiding under your current paint job. Number 5. Drop-side cribs. Imagine thinking you're putting your baby in a safe, cozy bed, only to discover you've placed them in a death trap. That's exactly what happened with drop-side cribs. These cribs had one side that could slide down, making it easier for parents to lift their babies in and out. Sounds pretty handy, right? These things turned out to be like tiny death traps with cute animal stickers on them. The problem was in the moving parts. They'd wear down over time, creating gaps between the mattress and the crib frame. These gaps formed perfect V-shapes, just the right size for a baby to slip into and get stuck. And when I say stuck, I mean stuck in ways that could stop them from breathing. Between 2000 and 2009, at least 32 babies didn't make it out of these cribs alive, and those are just the reported deaths. By 2011, the government finally banned these baby death traps completely. Number 4. The miracle dust of death. Picture this. You have the perfect Christmas party in the 1940s. Your tree is sparkling with this amazing new snow decoration that looks just like the real thing. The kids are playing in it, throwing it at each other. That magical snow was actually asbestos, but it was fireproof. You could literally hold a flame to this stuff, and it wouldn't burn. That's why everyone loved asbestos back then. It was like a miracle material. They put it in everything. Walls, cars, toys, even cigarette filters because they thought it would make smoking safer. Instead, it turned out those tiny fibers were like microscopic daggers. Once they got in your lungs, they never left. They just sat there, causing damage year after year, decade after decade. You wouldn't know anything was wrong for 20 or 30 years. Then suddenly, you've got cancer. And not just any cancer, but mesothelioma, which a very serious and deadly cancer. By the time they figured out how deadly this stuff was, it was already everywhere. Number 3. The silent spring sprayer. Imagine having a magic spray that could kill every bug in your house instantly. That's exactly what DDT was, a miracle spray that could wipe out any insect that dared to exist near you. Back in the 1940s, this stuff was everywhere. Some towns would drive trucks down the street spraying DDT clouds, and kids would run behind them playing in the mist. But this miracle spray wasn't just killing mosquitoes and flies. Scientists started noticing something weird happening to birds. Their eggs were becoming so fragile they'd break if the mother bird just sat on them. But DDT doesn't break down easily. It just sits there, in the environment, for decades. It moves up the food chain, getting more concentrated at each step, so that tiny amount you sprayed on your tomatoes ends up being thousands of times more concentrated in your body. Scientists even found DDT in human breast milk. Mothers were basically feeding their babies pesticide smoothies. By the time they banned it in the 70s, the damage was already done. A chemical that was banned before most of you were born is still in your body right now. Number 2. Death by dry cleaning. Imagine having a miracle cleaner that could remove any stain, but there's a catch. It might kill you. That's exactly what carbon tetrachloride was. This stuff was everywhere in the early 1900s, in dry cleaning shops, home cleaning products, and even hair shampoos. The only tiny problem is it was basically death in a bottle. This stuff was so good at breaking down grease, it would break down your organs too. When you breathed in the fumes, this chemical would sneak into your body and start destroying your liver and kidneys from the inside. The symptoms didn't show up right away. You'd be happily cleaning away, thinking everything's fine, while your liver is basically filing for divorce from your body. In 1909, a young woman named Eleonora, daughter of a baronet, went to get her hair done. The salon used a fancy new shampoo containing carbon tetrachloride. She never made it home, just from washing her hair. Scientists eventually figured out that maybe having your internal organs dissolve wasn't worth getting that wine stain out of your favorite shirt, so they banned it. Number 1. Magnets of mass destruction. Imagine having a toy so dangerous that doctors nicknamed it magnets of mass destruction. These tiny magnetic balls called buckyballs were marketed as desk toys for adults, but these weren't your regular fridge magnets. These were made with neodymium, making them about 10 times stronger than normal magnets. When kids got their hands on these magnets and swallowed them, it turned into a medical nightmare. If a kid swallowed multiple magnets at different times, these super strong magnets would try to connect through the walls of their intestines. Imagine 2 powerful magnets pinching and tearing through your internal organs like tiny metal jaws. Doctors started seeing horrifying cases where these magnets would rip holes through kids' intestines. Some children needed emergency surgery to remove both the magnets and parts of their damaged organs. The magnets were so powerful that in some cases, they'd punch through multiple loops of intestine to find each other. It's like having a tiny paper punch working its way through your insides. The government finally stepped in and banned them. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.